Well, this is an exciting chat for me. I get to talk to my mum, probably talk more now than we ever do about your career and your life as a basketball player. I guess I probably just want to start from the start. How did you get involved in basketball?
I started playing netball, and apparently there was a basketball team and they were short, so they come around and...
They were short in stature
No,
or short in
they
numbers?
were short in players.
Okay.
And so they come around and asked if I, could fill in, and I said yes.
And how old were you then?
It's about 13.
Here in Albury?
Yep.
And so you filled in. What did you love about basketball?
Well, we had the old stadium, which in Albury was very cold, because there was a lot of broken windows and so forth. But I don't know, I just liked dribbling the ball and getting out there and having a go. It was good.
And so how quickly did it sort of take you to be recognised, I guess, to go further? Like, did you go to a New South Wales camp? Like, how did it happen in the 70s? Or when was it, the 60s?
It was the 70s. There was a few girls from Albury that were playing really high level. And I don't know, it was just, I think under 18 was the first time I played state at 15. So I sort of had 3 years in under 18.
Yep.
So I just went from there.
Were you invited to a camp, or did they just
select you?
We didn't really.
We just had training camps, and you have to go through the selection process.
Where were your training camps?
Basically in Sydney.
So you had to travel.
Yeah, we had to travel a lot. Yep.
And did you catch trains, or did your mum and dad take you up?
No, we caught trains. Yeah.
Did they go with you though, as a 15-year-old?
No, we went by ourselves.
Really? It's a bit different back then.
Yeah, well, I was one of the younger ones.
Yeah, so the other girls looked after you.
Mm.
So from there, under 18s, how did the Australian selection come about?
Well, again, we had training squads, and then I made the Australian team in 1973, I think it was. It was in Melbourne. There was a tournament in Melbourne, and they picked the Australian team from there, and they picked it in alphabetical order, and I was called out. So it was great. It was unbelievable.
How old were you?
18.
18 years old.
Yep.
That's incredible. So you and Julie Gross were the first two Australians to head over to college and play in what is now the NCAA.
Yeah. Julie was already
First
there.
division.
She was there when I arrived.
Yep.
And it was great. I really enjoyed my time there, and to think that LSU have just won a national championship the first time ever is fantastic. Yeah, really great.
So how did you feel watching that the other day?
I felt really proud, and it was just amazing how well they played together. I don't know if they were sort of meant to actually win it. I think, they played out of their
third.
Was it? Yeah.
In the seedings, I think they were number 3, maybe, I think.
Yeah, no, they played so well together, and they deserved it.
You held records there. I'm not sure whether you still do. I think Angel Reese might have pipped you in the rebounds, I think, maybe, I don't know. But I think you still hold records at LSU after all these years, which is pretty remarkable considering you're just this little country bumpkin from Albury.
That's right, that's right. No, I love basketball, and I just love getting out in the court and playing, and it was great having Julie there too. And
when you were back then playing, did you, in terms of training and everything, did you just train on the court, or did you go to the gym? Did you sort of work on other aspects of your strength? Like, what was the training like compared to now? Like, obviously you've seen me train.
Yep.
And know how much I put into it, but was it like that back then?
Well, living in Albury, I had a coach called Charlie Leaney, and he would pick me up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning, and before school, and we'd go to the stadium and shoot, and then maybe 3 or 4 times a week we'd go, after school we'd go to an oval and just run around the oval and try and keep fit like that. There wasn't a lot of strength and exercise during, like when I was playing, but now it's, very complex, and there's a lot more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more scientific evidence that if you do get strong, you can get more longevity in your career, for sure. And you see that with players like LeBron James and, you know, like the amount of work they put into the stuff off court. So over the past sort of 55 years, how have you seen basketball in Australia evolve?
It's like when I was playing, I was the centre. I wasn't allowed to sort of go out of the keyway. Now you have to, you know, be a lot better as far as scoring, dribbling, defence. The players, the guards are a lot, you know, they're getting a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and the game's a lot quicker. And yeah, it's exciting to watch.
But in terms of the pathways and stuff, like, have you noticed any differences or?
As far as the pathways, where there's a lot more, I guess, you know, there's people that will sort of pick out players that they think are going to be, you know, good, and then those players will then go to camps and so forth, which, you know, didn't happen when I was playing. It was sort of just picked and that was it. But there are a lot of pathways now for junior kids, and you know, and if they've got the ability and they, you know, want to do it, they've got every opportunity.
So back when you were representing Australia, or maybe even as a junior, who were some of your biggest sort of influences, mentors, people that you looked up to and supported you, I suppose?
I didn't really have any mentors, I don't think. You just did it. Mum and Dad were always there, you know, supporting and that. But you know, you just got some information about where you were going and what you were doing, and you just did it.
You just did it.
So there wasn't a lot of. When I was playing, there wasn't a lot of people really to look up in basketball to look up to. But now there's, you know, like thousands that you could pick from.
Yeah. And then, so look, I know from all my life, Elaine Hardwick has been a big part of my life. She was your manager. She also represented Australia in the 50s, I think, with the national team. And every birthday, every Christmas, she's sent birthday cards. She's been like a second nana to me, basically. I'd like talk about that relationship, and I think the relationships that you've had and kept a hold of through basketball.
Yeah, well, Betty Watson was the first manageress that went away with me when I was playing for Australia, and she was absolutely amazing, fantastic. And then Elaine come on the scene, and Elaine's sort of, what, 3 foot? No, she's not 3 foot, she's probably just under 5 foot, yeah, maybe 4'10" or something.
Tiny.
Tiny, but you know, she was fantastic. I love Elaine because she's so positive. Nothing's ever really a problem. And you know, she's always there to support you, and yeah, just a really good person.
And talk about some other people that you played with that you still have relationships with, like probably Julie Nykel, you still mates with her.
Julie, yeah, Julie's had a few problems over the years, and we as you know, you certainly know, we had a car accident, and Julie and I sort of, during that time of rehab and everything, sort of did a lot of talking, and she's a great friend, and also lots of, you know, Jenny Cheeseman, Paddy Micken, Kay McFarlane, very good people that I still keep in touch with.
Yeah, and I remember, like, even as a kid, and this is before the internet and everything, but you would send letters to Jinx Coleman, who was your coach at LSU.
Yep.
Is it Jinx?
Yep.
You would. She's passed away now, but you like kept in touch and you kept those relationships sort of going and friendships. How much did they mean to you?
Well, Jinx was, you know, like, she was a very good support over there, and also when I come home and had my family, and then you started playing, I think Jinx went to a tournament when you were 14. You were playing with the Australian under-20 team, and Jinx went to see you play, but you'd hurt your ankle. So she
Injured.
So she didn't
As
play.
always.
You weren't playing, but like she was very interested.
Yeah.
And she travelled. I don't know. It was a fair way to see you anyway. So I went over to Jinx's funeral, but I couldn't get there in time to see her.
Can you talk about that time when you had me and Ross, and then you went back to the Australian team, and then had to make the decision to stop playing? Can you talk about that, and then missing out on that Olympic team?
Yeah, well, I think in 1980 we went to the pre-Olympic tournament in Bulgaria, and that was a really big disappointment for me personally. It would have been for the whole team, just to miss out, to know that we weren't going to the Olympics. We were so close. And then, so in 1981 you were born, and then Roscoe was born in 1982 in July. And then I got back into the Australian team in about, it was October or November of that year. And in that time there'd been a change of Australian coach. Jim Madigan was my coach for quite a few years. And we had to play against New Zealand in Melbourne for best of 3 games. And in that time also my dad had passed away. And it was just too hard. Like at that stage there wasn't a real lot of help available. And I felt that for all the training and everything I was doing, I didn't want to be away for 5 or 6 weeks, playing games leading up to different things. And so I made the decision to not represent Australia anymore and just play locally.
And how old were you then?
I was about 27, I think. Yeah.
So young.
Yeah.
And there wasn't money as well? There
was no money involved at all.
So throughout all this time when you were playing, you weren't making money, you probably had other jobs, you had your husband, you had your kids.
Yeah.
You decide to step away from the Australian team, and then what happens? The boycott happened.
Oh, that's right, yes. So, yeah, if you could see in the future, I would have kept going, but...
Yeah, so in '84, there was teams from Europe who were boycotting the Olympics out of retaliation for '80, I think. So Australia ends up going, and you've made the big decision to step away from the Australian team. How did that make you feel?
Look, I would have been a little bit sad, I guess, but I had my 2 children, and I was happy just to sit and watch and hope for the best and to see Australia do well.
And then you played for Dandenong, you played for St Kilda, did you ever consider playing WNBL? So that started in '81 or '82?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
No.
I didn't consider it. It's too hard. It was too hard getting to and from Melbourne with 2 little kids, and my husband, your dad, he was away a lot with work, and it was too much.
Too much. But you still played locally?
Still played locally and coached the Albury women. And
as a kid, like for me growing up, having you 2 as my parents, I always thought I could be a basketball player. Like I think knowing that you'd done it, even though there was no money and there was really no pathways, although I think you did get offered a contract to go and play over in Europe or England or something, right? At one point?
I think, I don't know whether it was so much a contract, it was just go and play over there. Yeah, I don't think there was any money.
There would have had to have been some sort of money.
Well, let's say we didn't get to that point. We did get to that point.
You were like, no, I don't want to go and play in England.
No.
That would have made you like the first Australian to go and play in Europe, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I think Chimsy was actually one of the first in the 90s. And I mean, you're talking about the early 80s. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I remember Nana cutting down your Australian uniforms so that I could wear them when I was like 6 or 7, and I loved playing basketball. And I remember telling people that I was going to play in the NBA. When I got in year 7, I told everyone's like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I'm like, well, I'm out of here when I'm 15. I'm going to the AIS.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told them that.
Yep.
What, as a parent, with someone who was so, I mean, obviously I wasn't that good at basketball, but I thought I was good. That's all that matters, right? What was it like being a parent to me as a youngster?
Lauren, where do I start?
And I say that this in the context of you were one of the toughest women. Whenever I talk to people about you as an athlete, people always talk about their broken noses. They talk about you being the assassin. They talk about you deadly not jump shot because you didn't jump, but you shot.
That's right. That's right.
So I guess that toughness and that you just, because you are tough, you're one of the toughest people that I know. How was it coaching someone like me as a kid?
Terrible, terrifying. No, well, I coached the Albury women, and then when you started to play, that's when I took over the under 12s Albury team, and I thought it'd be a piece of cake. And I remember going down to Melbourne, and we went down by bus, and that was tough. It was tough. You weren't the easiest because I don't know.
You can tell stories, Mum. I don't mind you telling stories.
No, you just like to do your own thing, let's say, and
no, I didn't.
Earlier you did, yeah.
What was my own thing?
Oh, just you weren't that popular with the girls, let's say.
No, because I was an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean,
no. Look, overall, you were very strong. You wanted to do well, and you did. You put your heart and soul into it, to every game, which is something that a lot of people can't handle. Yeah.
Still the same now.
Yeah. Well, that's where you've got, because of.
I didn't realise that was the case though. I just thought they didn't like me because I was mean. Was I mean?
Oh.
What was it?
I don't know, Lon. I really don't know. I don't know.
So, funny story. You were coaching me at Albert Park Stadium, old Albert Park Stadium, under 12s maybe?
Yep, under
12s. And it was a Saturday afternoon and I got ejected.
Yep.
And Dad was coaching down the back courts. They ejected a 10-year-old girl in St Kilda out of Albert Park Stadium on my own.
Yeah.
Made me leave the stadium.
That was bad.
And you were coaching.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? How did you deal with that?
I was very upset about that, and I think I got someone to go out and stay with you at that stage. I didn't want you going out, and goodness knows what might have happened. But look, things like that happen, and you just got to, you could have just put your head down and said, "Oh, well, that's it. I'm not playing anymore." But it sort of made you a bit stronger, and maybe just made you more aware to watch the elbows and.
I was just trying to be like my mum.
Okay, all right. Look, I was fine. I used to get, sort of rubbed the wrong way if people, like it wasn't as if I just, got out in the court and went for everyone. If someone did something that, to me, I wouldn't take it. So that's why, maybe I got the reputation I did, but I'd never started, let's say that. I'd never started.
But you'd finish it, Mum.
Well, I don't know. But
she does. She never apologises for anything still. But she finishes everything, let me tell you right now. Then now, like, the legacy that you've got, we're heading up to under 18 nationals. Yep. You, me and the kids, my kids, next weekend, which is really exciting. The under 18 women's trophy is named after you. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel, like the legacy that you've had, in Australia? And, I think what you've been able to achieve in your career, which was, cut short, but your legend is still very much alive. Like, how does that make you feel?
I don't know. To have a trophy named after you is fantastic. I'm very honoured, and I'm looking forward, as you are, to go up to Brisbane next weekend and present the trophy. And
watch a lot of basketball games.
Yeah. No, it'd be great. I can't wait to see
the
kids play and see how they've progressed.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. It's going to be great to take the boys up there as well and just show them around, and so they get a feel for what these tournaments are like. It's pretty exciting for them as well, being around all the kids.
Yeah, well, little Harry, he's very much into basketball, and he loves it. So you never know. How
have you felt watching me then in my career, and like, have you what has it been like for you as a mum, but also as a past player, and then, you know, knowing me the way you know me?
I think, you know, when you were first picked in the under-20 team at 14, that was you know, like we couldn't believe it, because I think you went into training and you didn't train the first day or so. You had something, I can't remember the injury, you had something anyway, and then by the end of it, you rang up and said that you were going to America, you know, with the under-20 team, and that was something that we, you know, couldn't get our head around.
Yeah.
And then it just went from there. You just, you know, went to the institute, which you loved, yeah, and you always said that you felt that you were meant to be there because you're around tall people and all that, and you had like lifelong friendships now with those girls, and it just sort of, it went from there.
So when I got drafted to go to America, you and I flew to New York.
Yep.
It was a horrendous trip, I remember that. How, like, after your experience being in America yourself, like, how was that for you, like that period of time, and then watching me get drafted and knowing that I was going to be living in America? And
Yeah.
like, you know.
Well, to go number one was amazing, and to be living in America, well, I sort of knew that you'd be well looked after there, because the people in Seattle, when we went to Seattle after the draft, were absolutely amazing. I went over, once a year basically for the 10 years you were there in America.
Mum, there were times, like, you, whenever I needed you, you were there. You were on the next flight out. It was pretty amazing, actually. I think just the support that I got from you and Dad, but, you know, you more so just because you literally just would drop everything, and especially because there were times when I really needed you, you know?
Yeah, no, it was great. Well, I loved going over there, and the way Seattle, you know, did it at the stadium, that was fantastic. And yeah, just to see all the people there and the fans, and that was
pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome.
All right, let's move on to the World Cup. Okay, so the World Cup in Sydney last year, it was a really special time for everybody there. You know, I think off the court, all of the Opals, all of the past Opals were there every game. It was a real connection piece. I think you guys were there the whole tournament, meeting up at the bar for drinks beforehand, after, having dinners. What was that like, just being around that sort of atmosphere and environment again?
Oh, it was fantastic. To see, as you said, to see so many Opals there, like people you hadn't seen for years and years. To go and watch the games and really enjoy watching the Opals play. They were like, they played as a total team. There wasn't any, you know, it was always, you know, the team come first. And every night there were different players that were stepping up, and yeah, no, it was just such fun to go and watch, and just to see all the old faces. Yeah, no, it was great.
So the Opals, they at the moment talk a lot about sisterhood, right? This sisterhood of the Opals, and there's been a lot of work done around the legacy piece and having a lot of the past Opals come in and talk to the new girls, and trying to really create an environment where the Opals feel really embraced and empowered, particularly by past Opals and all of the history that we have. Have you seen that sort of working in action, particularly from the World Cup onwards? Because even the last camp, Paddy Micken was there for a period of time, like Susie Bakovic came in for some time. You know, Christy's back on the coaching staff. You know, we've got just Opals sort of everywhere.
Yes.
You know, it's been incredible. Did you sort of feel that sisterhood piece there during that time? Do you know what that feels like or means?
Yeah. No, it was...
Did you feel like you were a part of it, is my point? Like,
I did. But I think, you know, with the way that, you know, there's a lot more money in basketball now, and maybe some of the girls are playing because of the money rather than, you know, that real love for the game. And, you know, like when I was playing, that's what it was. It was for the love of the game, not for, you know, what you could actually get out of it. Yeah. So
that's a really good
point.
And
it's you know, you just didn't mind whether you were sitting on the bench. You know, if you were sitting on the bench and you didn't get on the court, well, it didn't really matter because you were part of a team, you'd made that team. Whereas now it's, you know, in some.
Hey, I was happy to sit on the bench.
Yeah,
I was really happy.
that's right. But you know, it's for the love of the game. I mean, look, you can be, you know, like a fantastic player, you know, but if you haven't got that love for the game, you know, you're sort of missing out. You're missing out, and you're not getting the best out of yourself.
Yeah. So as my mum, we might just touch base on the last couple of days of that World Cup tournament, because just so people know, after every single game, I would go back to mum and dad's room, debrief, cuddle my children, put them to bed. It was pretty late. Like by the time we had 8 o'clock games, so you know by the time I got back to your room, it would be like 11:30.
Yeah.
And the kids were, you know, just sort of going to sleep, but on a bit of a high, but exhausted. Anyway, after the China game, I remember going to your room, and I actually, I think I actually had a glass of wine because I was so shattered, and I don't know if I talked. Did I talk?
Oh, you were just shattered, you know, it was just hard, you know.
Yeah, that was a hard night. Anyway, and we had to back up. We had to go to play at 1 o'clock the next day against Canada. So every morning I'd also get up early. My roommate slept a lot more than what I did. So I'd get up about, I don't know, 6:30 and then have my brekkie and then go over and see you and Dad and the kids and have breakfast with you as well. And I don't really remember that morning, but you keep saying that I wasn't happy.
You're a little bit down on yourself, and you know, I don't think you'd played that last game, and you know, you just wanted to, you know, the girls to play well, and in this game that was happening that day, to play well, and you know, to get back up again and to put everything into it and win it. That was, you know, that was the goal.
Yeah, so I leave you guys, go back to the hotel room, we get ready for the game, because I think we had to leave at like 10:30 or something, or 11:30, I can't remember. Anyway, when we all come downstairs to get on the bus to go to the venue, Paddy Micken had organised a guard of honour. And I just remember walking downstairs and I was so nervous, and everyone was quiet. We were just like, you know, just come off a really bad loss to China. We're downstairs and I just see my 2 children running at me from it. And at that moment, I think I actually started crying because I was just so pent up with, you know, anxiety and I was nervous and, you know, not knowing what was going to happen that day, whether we were going to medal or not, which is, you know, huge. And the kids ran at me and I remember just sort of crying and then seeing you all, the old Lopals family standing out there sort of cheering us on as we go to get on the bus.
Yeah.
That was pretty special. That was a very special moment, but I think it literally set off like Sandy, me, like some of the other like it was just a really highly emotional few hours before that game. Anyway, go to the game. Don't know what happened. I still do not know what happened, how that happened. What do you remember about that?
It was an amazing game. You know, Australia, the game was sort of to and fro. It was sort of, you know, very, very close. And, you know, everyone's, you know, nervous. And you come on, which was nice to, you know, to actually get out there and have a go. And then you just sort of started to get a few shots in, and the team started to really, you know, play well, and it was amazing. And then you kept scoring, you know, again a couple of baskets here and there, and I remember we had little Lenny in between Dad and I, and you know, after, I don't know, maybe 20 points or something, we just looked at each other and we couldn't believe it, and then it just kept going, and Yeah, it
Random.
was, yeah. No, I remember looking up at the back of where Gary was sitting, and Elaine just had a very big smile on her face. And yeah, for the Opals to win that game was amazing. It really was an amazing. And what a fitting end, you know, to you playing and so forth. It was once in a lifetime, I think.
Yeah, it was really special. I think the whole tournament was a really special tournament because we, when we lost that first game, I think people may have like written us off a little bit, you know, and then to be able to come back and then from every single game, we just got better and better and better and better and better, you know, and that was, we were in the hardest pool, I think. And, you know, any of those games could have gone either way.
That's right.
You know, and we just pulled through.
Yeah, but it was the way that the Opals played. You know, like they played so well as a team. That's what I loved about it. Like it was just not one person. Every night there'd be someone different.
Yeah.
And I think the fans and the people that were there just loved, you know, the way that they played. And they played together. You know, they looked for each other. They, you know, and you know, their foul shooting, everything. The Opals played so well that tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a special time.
Certainly was.
Well, Mum, thanks for the lovely chat.
It's been a pleasure, Lon. It's been a pleasure.